Cambridge, 2,000 years ago. Archaeologists uncover an Iron Age burial site. The skeleton of a man. History has erased his name. But blood remembers everything. Geneticists read the DNA. Paternal lineage, R1B L52, a Celtic marker, the very one that flows today in 7 out of 10 Welsh people. Nearby are 6 more graves. The same haplogroup, 6 out of 7. R1B, one nation, one people, one blood. But 400 years later, very different people will be buried in the same place, with different genes, with different blood, with different gods. What happened? Where did the Celts go? And who took their place? Today, scientists have read the DNA of 278 ancient skeletons. The result is shocking. England is not a people. It is a genetic chaos. And if the truth about who you are lies not in textbooks but in the bones of your ancestors, who are the English? Celts, Saxons, Vikings, Normans? Chronicles confuse trails. Histories contradict one another. Legends lie. Some shout, "We are descendants of King Arthur, Celtic blood." Others, "We are Germans coming from the continent." Third, the Vikings left their mark in each of us. Historians have argued for centuries. Archaeologists dug without answers. Linguists dissected language to the bone. But no one knew the truth. And then genetics arrived. Scientists extracted DNA from medieval bones. They read the genomes of the dead that are 1,500 years old. Every chromosome, every gene, every mutation. And they saw what chroniclers did not see, what the earth had concealed, what the stones had kept silent. England is not one people. It is 4 waves of invasions. It is a battle of blood spanning 2,000 years. It is a mosaic of genes, where each piece tells its own story. What if everything you've been taught about the origin of the English is a lie? 800 years before our era, the Iron Age. Britain, the island of mists. Oak forests cover the land. Marshes consume paths. Rivers flow without bridges. The waves of the English Channel crash against the white cliffs of Dover. Here live the Britons, those whom Rome will call Celts. They do not write books. They do not build cities. They do not mint coins. But they remember. Their villages are round huts with thatched roofs. Smoke from fires rises to the sky. Their weapons are bronze swords and iron spears. Their gods live in oaks, in rivers, in the stones of sacred hills. They swim across the strait, trade with Gaul, drink wine from clay amphorae, wear gold torques around their necks. But their blood is not Gallic. Their ancestors came here 10,000 years ago, from the south, from Anatolia, through the Middle East, Neolithic farmers. They brought wheat. They brought cattle. They brought genes. And if the Celts were one people with one blood, why do today's Welsh differ from the English as much as the English differ from each other? R1B L51. Remember this code. It is the main Celtic marker, the male line, passed from father to son for millennia without change. Where does it live today? Wales, more than 70% of men. Cornwall, more than 70%. Western Ireland, more than 70%. Pure Celtic blood. Untouched. Ancient. And Eastern England, 30 to 40%. Half as much. What happened? Where did half of it go? The answer lies in another haplogroup, one that did not exist in the Iron Age, one that will come across the sea, through the storm, through death. Maternal lines tell another story. HU5K. Ancient Europeans. Hunter-gatherers and farmers. They survived 40,000 years. And they are the same from Britain to the Urals. This means Britons and continental Europeans share one blood since the glaciers retreated. But if maternal lines are unified across Europe, why are paternal lines so brutally divided? Who killed the Celtic men of eastern England? The year 43 AD. The legions of Emperor Claudius land in Kent. Swords, shields, eagles. For 400 years, Rome rules Britain, builds roads through marshes, erects stone cities, aqueducts carry water, villas adorned with mosaics, Latin echoes in courts, Eboracum, York, the northern outpost of the empire, the edge of the civilized world. Here, soldiers from all provinces serve: Gauls, Germans, Syrians, Africans. Archaeologists uncover a Roman cemetery, 7 skeletons, 2nd to 4th centuries. Geneticists read the DNA of each. The result is shocking. 6 out of 7 R1B L52. Celts, local Britons. Rome ruled for 400 years but did not mix. The empire owned the land but did not enter the blood. And the 7th? J2L228. The Middle East, Saudi Arabia, the Levant. An immigrant, 1 in 7. A drop in the sea of local blood. A cosmopolitan empire. Soldiers from 1,000 cities. But the genetic trace is minimal. Rome owned the island for 4 centuries. But why did it leave almost nothing in the genes of the Britons? The paradox of Roman Britain. Historical records say German soldiers served in the Roman army. Franks, Batavians, Alemanni, entire cohorts, thousands of warriors from beyond the Rhine. But genetics remain silent. There are no German haplogroups in Roman burials. No I1, no R1B U106, no R1A, no trace of northern warriors, not a single marker from across the Rhine. Where did the Germans go? 3 possible answers. First, they did not stay. Service ended, they returned home across the sea. Second, there were too few of them. A few among thousands. Drops dissolved in the ocean of local blood. Third, their trace was erased by the next wave. The one that will change everything. The year 410. The legions leave the island. Rome will fall in 66 years. Britain alone, defenseless, hungry. And from the east, across the North Sea, ships come, long, fast, ruthless. Warriors with different blood are aboard. Imagine if you were told that half the blood of Eastern England is not Celtic and not Roman, but people who came 300 years after the fall of the empire? The mid-5th century. Roman Britain is dead. Cities are abandoned. Roads are overgrown with grass. Villas are in ruins. Ships reach British shores. Saxons, Angles, Jutes, Frisians, Germans from the continent. Chroniclers will call it a conquest. Archaeologists, a cultural change. Historians have long debated. Did the elite replace or all the people? And genetics told the truth. Scientists extracted ancient DNA from early medieval burials. They read genomes in full, every gene, every mutation, compared it with the continent. The results shocked the world. Eastern England up to 76% continental North European blood. Not 10, not 20, 76. This is not a conquest of the elite. This is a mass replacement of the population. Entire villages relocated from the shores of Germany and Denmark. They crossed the sea, settled on the island. Men, women, children, cattle, tools, gods. They did not just conquer the land, they replaced the people. But if they replaced 76%, where did the remaining 24 go? Where did the last Celts hide? Norway, Sweden, glaciers. From there came haplogroup I1M253, a Scandinavian marker, born in the ice tens of thousands of years ago. In the Iron Age of Britain, it was not there at all. 0%. Not a single sample among the Celts. In Anglo-Saxon burials, 34% of all men. Every third. It appeared from nowhere. In 300 years, from 0 to a third of the population. This is the mathematics of replacement. Along with it came others. R1B U106, a German line from the Netherlands and Germany. R1A M420, Central European from Poland and Scandinavia. I2A1 L460, Central Northern Europe. 4 new haplogroups, all continental, all absent in the Iron Age, all dominate in the medieval period. This is not cultural influence, not borrowing language, not a change of elites. This is genetic replacement, physical displacement of one people by another, blood against blood. But if the male lines have been completely replaced, what happened to the women? Why have maternal haplogroups barely changed? Archaeologists uncover graves, early medieval, 5th to 7th centuries, some in contorted positions, without belongings, poor, others stretched on their backs, with swords, with ornaments, with characteristic Saxon pottery. Geneticists read the DNA of these individuals and discover a pattern. Individuals with a high percentage of continental blood are almost always buried in the Saxon style, with Saxon things, with Saxon rites. Individuals with Celtic blood are more often without belongings, in the old British style. This means genes and culture moved together. These were not locals adopting a new language. They were new people with new gods. But the oddity: women with continental blood were more often found with burial gifts, statistically significant, high status, wives of chiefs, and men, regardless of origin, equally often found with weapons. Celtic or Saxon, it doesn't matter. A sword is available to both. Saxon society was open to military success, but closed to gender equality. But what if the Saxons did not conquer the island with a sword, but simply remarried local women? The Saxons came not only with swords, they brought gods. Woden, Thor, Freya, gods of war, thunder, fertility, the same ones as in Scandinavia, the same ones as in Germany. Celtic druids vanished. Sacred groves were cut down. Altars were destroyed. The old gods died with the old people. A new religion, a new pantheon, new temples of wood and blood. But this did not last long. The year 597. Pope Gregory I sends a mission to Britain. Leading is Augustine of Canterbury. The goal is to convert the Saxon pagans to Christianity. In 100 years, the entire island is Christian. Temples of Woden become churches of Christ. Pagan holidays are Christian. Yule becomes Christmas. Ostara becomes Easter. Religion changed in a generation, but nothing changed in the blood. Saxon lines remained. Continental markers disappeared nowhere. Religion can change in 100 years, but genes live for millennia. But if the Saxons replaced 76%, why do modern scholars talk about 38? Someone is lying? Two numbers, both from top journals, both correct, both shocking. The first, up to 76% continental blood in eastern England. Method: ancient DNA. Direct reading of the genomes of medieval skeletons. A snapshot of the moment. 5th to 7th centuries. The second, 38% Anglo-Saxon blood in modern eastern England. Method: rare genetic variants. Reconstruction of the past from living people. The result of 1,500 years of mixing. Why the difference? The first answer: ancient DNA measures the peak of migration, the moment of maximum. The second number is average across the whole island after centuries of dilution. The second answer: in different places, different percentages. From 0 in Ireland to 76 in Suffolk. The average number is around 40. The third answer: later waves diluted the signal. Vikings, Normans, traders. Each new blood was a dilution. Both numbers are true. They measure different things at different times. But if the Saxons replace so much, why do the Welsh and Scots also have 30%? Did the Saxons conquer the entire island? The year 793. Lindisfarne Island. Monastery. The silence of prayer. From the fog, Drakars, Vikings, they burn, they raid, they kill. The first blow to Christian England. The beginning of 250 years of terror. Dane-geld, tribute in gold. But gold does not save. The Vikings want not gold, they want land. The year 865. The great pagan army lands in East Anglia. Thousands of warriors, an entire army. They do not raid, they conquer. The year 886, King Alfred the Great and Viking Guthrum sign peace. England is divided. Danelaw, an area of Danish law, eastern and northern England to the Vikings, western and southern to the Anglo-Saxons. Geneticists search for the Viking marker in modern Britons and find R1A1, a Scandinavian haplogroup. In Danelaw, 6.6% of men. Outside Danelaw, 4.2%. The difference is statistically significant. The Vikings left a trace, but not as deep as the Saxons. But if the Vikings ruled Danelaw for 200 years, why is their genetic trace so small? Did they not bring wives? There is one place where the Vikings completely succeeded. The Orkney Islands, the north of Scotland, the edge of the world. 9th century. Norwegian earls seize the islands, expel the Picts, build farms, bring families. And unlike the mainland, here they stay forever. Geneticists analyze modern Orcadians. 25% Norwegian blood, every fourth. The highest percentage of Scandinavian ancestry in Britain. And haplogroup R1A1? 86% of all R1A1 in Orkney is a specific Norwegian line R1A1 GML8. 79% on the Isle of Man. On the mainland, just a few. The lifespan of the common ancestor of this line dates back 2,273 years ago. The confidence interval from 1,838 to 2,708 years. This means all carriers of R1A1 GML8 in Britain are descendants of one person who lived during the Roman Empire. His descendants, the Vikings of the 9th century, arrived in Orkney. Their blood flows still in the veins of the islanders. If the Vikings replaced 25% in Orkney, why could they not do so on the mainland? What stopped them? The year 1066. The Battle of Hastings. King Harold is killed. An arrow in the eye. William the Conqueror, the new king of England. Normans, descendants of Vikings who settled in Normandy. They speak French, wear French names, pray to the Christian God. But their blood is Scandinavian. The conquest was political. The elite was completely replaced. Castles built of stone, laws rewritten in Latin, the English language filled with French words, thousands of new terms, power, law, court. But the genetic trace? Minimal. There were few Normans, a few thousand knights with families. They took castles and cities, but not villages. Peasants remained the same. Anglo-Saxons, descendants of Celts, Vikings. Geneticists find no Norman wave in the DNA. Only the continuation of mixing already existing lines. No new haplogroups, no French markers. The conquest of 1066 was a political revolution, but a genetic stagnation. If the Normans did not change the genome, then who changed the language? Why is English not Celtic, not Saxon, but a strange mix of everything? 2,039 people. Rural Britain. The criteria strict. All 4 grandparents were born within 80 kilometers. Geneticists analyzed their DNA, clustered solely by genes, without knowledge of geography. The computer itself found the groups. The result? 17 genetic clusters. Not one British race. 17 distinct genetic groups on one island. Wales has 2 clusters. North Wales and South Wales differ from one another. Cornwall is a separate cluster, different from Devon. Devon is a separate cluster, different from Cornwall. Orkney is the most genetically isolated from all of Britain. Central and southern England is the largest cluster. Half of all samples. Homogeneous. Mixing for 1,500 years. And the Welsh? Genetically closer to Spaniards and French than to English from the eastern counties. This means the Saxon migration divided the island forever. The east mixed with the continent. The west preserved the ancient Celtic foundation. If England is so genetically divided, can we even speak of a single British people? Who are the English today? What flows in their veins? Male lines Y chromosome. R1B ancient Celtic foundation. dominates in the west of Britain, weakened in the east. R1M253 Anglo-Saxon marker, dominates in the eastern counties, weak in the west. R1A Viking line plus later migrations, concentration in Danelaw and northern regions. I2A mixed sources from Central Europe and the Balkans, maternal lines mitochondrial DNA, H from 40 to 50%, universal European, ancient, from Spain to Russia, U5 from 5 to 10%, hunter-gatherers, Mesolithic, ties to the Ice Age, JKTWX about 5 to 10% each, mixed sources, Neolithic farmers, Mediterranean migrants. Maternal lines are conservative, almost no regional differences. Why? Because women did not migrate in waves. Men came with swords. Women stayed and survived. If male lines tell tales of conquests, what do female lines tell? Of the price of survival. The English are not an isolated people. Their genes tell the story of ancient connections. The Cambridge Celt of the Iron Age and the modern Welsh person share a common ancestor. Thousands of years ago, before Christ, before Rome, before writing, maternal line H accounts for 40% of all English women. The same one in Spain, in France, in Italy, in Russia, universal European, older than all empires. The Anglo-Saxon warrior from Suffolk and the modern Dutchman. A common father in the Bronze Age, 3,000 years ago. The lifespan of the common ancestor of most European lines is from 5 to 20,000 years. This means an Englishman, a German, a Frenchman, a Spaniard. All relatives. Scientists are in shock. Political boundaries appeared 1,000 years ago. Language barriers 500 years ago. But genetic connections reach back thousands of years. A passport says you are English, but DNA says you are European with roots all over the continent. But if all Europeans are relatives, why are modern nations so different? What happened in the last 1,000 years? The 20th century. The British Empire, the largest in history. A quarter of land, a quarter of humanity. India, Africa, the Caribbean, Australia, the British rule the world. But the world is coming to Britain. After World War II, a wave of immigration. Indians, Pakistanis, Africans, Caribbeans. London becomes multicultural. Birmingham, Manchester, Leicester. The genetic core is changing, but only in cities. Scientists specifically chose rural areas for their study. The criterion was all ancestors from one place. The goal was to isolate the original British population from modern migrations. The result? The genetic structure of rural Britain has hardly changed for 1,500 years. Celts in the west, Saxons in the east, Vikings in the north. The same map as in the 7th century. Cities are cosmopolitan. Villages are conservative. Globalization could not erase the ancient code. The 21st century. A world without borders, but British villages still preserve the blood of the Middle Ages. If globalization could not change genes, what does this say about the power of genetic memory? England is an island. Isolation for 1,500 years has created unique patterns. Northern latitudes, little sun. Evolution responded with lighter skin for vitamin D synthesis. Light hair, blue and green eyes. Adaptation for survival in fog and rain. Eastern England is lighter than the West. Why? Saxon blood brought Scandinavian traits. The Celtic West preserved darker hues. But the main thing is not hair color. The main thing is genetic drift. These are random changes in gene frequencies in small populations. A village isolated by mountains. 100 generations of marriages within the community. Gene frequencies change randomly. Unique combinations accumulate. Over 1,500 years, each isolated community became genetically unique. Not due to new migrations, just due to time and isolation. But this is not racial purity, not ethnic exclusivity. just local variations of common European heritage. Mountains, marshes, the sea, language barriers, all created borders. And beyond them, genes drifted in different directions. If every region of Britain is genetically unique, what does it really mean to be English? The Cambridge grave. 6 skeletons, R1B, Celts. Centuries later, the Saxons replaced it up to 76%. The Vikings added their blood. The Normans changed the power. Today, an Englishman is not a Celt, not a Saxon, not a Viking. He is all three. 17 genetic clusters from Orkney to Cornwall. Each region is a unique story in chromosomes. Genetic chaos is not a flaw. It is a testament. History is written in blood. Each wave of migration is a new chapter. Every Englishman is a living document of millennia. They survived ice, Rome, Saxons, Vikings, Normans. They did not disappear. Their blood flows in London, in the villages of Cornwall, in scholars reading genomes. In you. Genetic memory is stronger than kings, stronger than empires, stronger than time. Do you want to know the truth about your origins? Subscribe, like, comment on which nation you want to hear next.